My entitled mother demanded I hand over my inherited house to her because my sister is pregnant and they both need it more than I do. And I honestly have no idea what to do. Let's dive right into the story. My childhood was not what most people would call a normal childhood. From my earliest memories, there was always a clear division in how my mother treated me versus my younger sister Lily. While Lily received unwavering affection, designer clothes and endless praise, I existed in a strange emotional wasteland where nothing I did was ever good enough. "Michael, why can't you be more like your sister?" became my mother's constant refrain. I was 7 when I first heard it, standing in our kitchen with a report card full of A's and 1 B. Meanwhile, Lily's mix of B's and C's had earned her a trip for ice cream. My dad, James, was different. He was my shelter from the storm that was my mother. Whenever he was home from his job as a construction manager, the atmosphere changed. He would ruffle my hair, help with my homework, and make sure that I knew I was loved. "You're doing great, kiddo," he would say. "I'm so proud of you." The contrast between my parents could not have been starker. Where my mother, Olivia, saw flaws, my father saw potential. Where she criticized, he encouraged, and where she ignored, he paid attention. I was 12 when I overheard them fighting about me one night. "He's your son too, Olivia," my dad said, his voice tight with frustration. "Why do you treat him like he's some kind of burden?" "Don't be dramatic, James," my mother replied coldly. "I treat both children fairly. It's not my fault Michael is so sensitive." Sensitive? You ignored his science fair win last week but threw Lily a party because she got a participation certificate in her dance class. Their arguments grew more frequent as the years passed. By the time I was 15, the tension had become unbearable. I tried my best to stay out of my mom's way, focusing on school and the few activities I could participate in without drawing her negative attention. One particular bad day stands out in my memory though. I had just been accepted into the National Honor Society and my dad had promised to take me out to celebrate. My mother, however, had other plans. "We need to go shopping for Lily's recital outfit," she announced over dinner. "It is this weekend and she needs new shoes." "But Mom," Lily said, surprising me with her objection, "I have 3 pairs already. Can't we go tomorrow instead? Michael's celebration is important." The look my mother gave her made Lily shrink in her seat. "Your recital is important, Lily. Michael's little club can wait." My dad slammed his fork down and said, "That's enough, Olivia. I'm taking Michael out tonight as promised. You can go shopping with Lily tomorrow." "Fine," my mother snapped. "Waste your time. It's not like getting into some nerdy club is going to make him any less disappointing." I will never forget the look of pure hatred she gave me as my dad and I left the house. It was as if I'd personally offended her by merely existing. The divorce happened when I was 16. I cannot say it was unexpected, but the viciousness of it caught even me off guard. My mother fought tooth and nail for custody of Lily, but made it abundantly clear that she had no interest in me. In fact, she actually argued that I should stay with my father because we were too similar and enabled each other's worst traits. The family court judge saw through her, of course. During one particularly heated session, he directly asked her why she seemed so disinterested in maintaining a relationship with her own son. "I'm not disinterested," she claimed, fake tears welling in her eyes. "Michael has always been closer to his father. I'm just trying to be practical about what would be best for both children." My dad's lawyer presented evidence of my mother's neglect, missed parent-teacher conferences, forgotten birthdays, the disparity in how she treated me versus Lily. In the end, my dad got full custody of me while my mother got Lily. The day we moved out of the family home into a modest but comfortable house my dad had purchased was both liberating and heartbreaking. Lily stood in the driveway, tears streaming down her face as we loaded the last of our belongings into the moving truck. "I don't want you to go," she sobbed, hugging me tightly. At 14, Lily was beginning to see our mother for who she really was, but she was still too young to escape her influence. I hugged her back, promising to stay in touch. "It's not like we'll never see each other again," I said, trying to sound more confident than I felt. "We will do weekends and holidays, okay?" She nodded, but we both knew it would not be that simple. My mother would make sure of that. Life with just my dad was peaceful. For the first time, I did not have to walk on eggshells in my own home. I could laugh too loudly, leave a dish in the sink, or get a B on a test without triggering a meltdown. My dad and I developed a routine that worked for us. He taught me to cook, I helped him keep the house in order, and we spent our evenings talking about everything from college plans to the latest baseball stats. But my mother was not content to let us live in peace. She called constantly with demands, complaints, and thinly veiled threats. James, Lily needs new dance shoes. The ones she has are already showing wear after 2 weeks. You need to contribute more. Your child support payment was a day late. Do I need to call my lawyer? Michael should be giving Lily his old laptop. She needs it for school and it's not like he's using it anymore. My dad handled most of these calls with remarkable patience, but I could see the toll they were taking on him. The stress lines around his eyes deepened and he started having trouble sleeping. Despite my mom's best efforts, I still managed to see Lily regularly. We would meet at a coffee shop halfway between our houses or go to movies together when my mother was busy with her endless spa appointments and shopping trips. Lily would fill me in on life at home, how our mother spending money faster than it came in, how she had started dating a series of increasingly sketchy men who she would tell anyone who would listen that my dad and I were the villains in her story. She tells her friends that dad abandoned her and took all the money. Lily confided during one of our meetups when she was 16, and she says you chose him over her because you're just as selfish as he is. I snorted. Yeah, of course, I'm so selfish for wanting to live with the parent who actually remembers my birthday. Lily gave me a sad smile. I remembered your birthday. I saved up to get you that book you wanted. I know, Lil, you're not like her. And yes, she wasn't. Despite being raised by our mother, Lily had somehow maintained her kindness and empathy. We had our differences. She was more sociable and artistic, where I was more academic and reserved. But the core of who she was remained untainted by our mother's influence. College came as a welcome escape. I got a scholarship to a university 3 hours away where I studied computer science. My dad helped me move into my dorm, arranged my room just the way I liked it, and left me with a tight hug and the promise to call every Sunday. "I'm proud of you, son," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "I'm so damn proud." Those years were transformative. Away from the toxic dynamics of my childhood, I flourished. I made friends, joined clubs, and even dated a bit. My relationship with Lily remained strong through text messages and video calls, though I saw her in person less frequently. She was busy with her own life, having decided to forego college for a dance career that our mother enthusiastically supported, at least until Lily suffered a knee injury that required surgery and months of rehabilitation. I was in my junior year when my dad called with news that made my blood run cold. The doctor found something, he said, his voice unusually subdued. "They are running more tests, but it doesn't look good, Michael. Cancer, stage 4. By the time they caught it, it had already spread from his lungs to his liver and bones. The prognosis was grim. Months, not years. I took a leave of absence from school and moved back home to care for him. Those months were both the most painful and most precious of my life. My dad faced his illness with the same quiet strength that he had shown throughout his life. We talked more deeply than we ever had before about his regrets, his hopes for my future, and what he wanted for me after he was gone. The house is paid off, he told me during one of his more lucid moments, the pain medication making his words slightly slurred. "I've set it up so it comes to you, along with everything else. Just use it to finish school and then start your life. Don't let your mother get her hands on any of it." I promised I wouldn't, though at the time I couldn't imagine my mother would even try. She had not visited once during his illness, had not even called to check on him. Lily came when she could, sneaking away while our mom was at her yoga classes or lunch dates. She would sit with my dad, holding his hand and telling him about her plans to go back to school for physical therapy, inspired by her own recovery. My dad died peacefully on a Tuesday morning in April. I was holding his hand when he took his last breath, a gentle smile on his face as if he knew he was finally free from pain. The funeral was small but dignified, just as he would have wanted. To my surprise though, my mother attended, dressed in an inappropriately stylish black dress that looked more suited for a cocktail party than a funeral. She made a show of dabbing at dry eyes, while murmuring to anyone who would listen about how difficult James had always been and how worried she was about me now that I was all alone. Lily stood by my side throughout the service, her genuine grief a stark contrast to our mother's performance. When it was over, she hugged me tightly and whispered, "I'm here for you, Michael, whatever you need." I believed her. I had no reason not to. 2 weeks after the funeral, as I was still sorting through my dad's belongings and trying to make sense of my new reality, the first call came. "Michael," my mother's voice dripped with fake concern, "we need to talk about arrangements." "What arrangements?" I asked, already dreading where this conversation was headed. "Well, now that your father is gone, we need to discuss what happens to the house and his other assets. After all, I was his wife for 18 years. ex-wife. I corrected her. And everything was left to me in his will. There's nothing to discuss here. Her tone shifted instantly from saccharine to steel. Don't be ridiculous. I have needs and your sister… I hung up. The calls kept coming, escalating in frequency and hostility. Then came the text from Lily that would change everything. Mom is really upset about the house and money. She says Dad owed her and now you owe her too. Can we talk? Also, I'm pregnant. I stared at Lily's text for a good 5 minutes before responding with a simple, "Sure, let's meet tomorrow at the cafe." The news of Lily's pregnancy caught me off guard. She was only 22 and as far as I knew, not in a serious relationship or anything. But I was more concerned about my mother's apparent belief that she was entitled to my inheritance. The cafe was busy when I arrived the next day, but I spotted Lily immediately, sitting at a corner table with her hands wrapped around a mug of tea. What I didn't expect was to see our mother sitting beside her, an artificial smile plastered on her face. "Michael, darling!" she cooed as I approached. "It is so good of you to meet with us." I took a seat across from them, my guard immediately up. "Well, I thought I was meeting Lily." "Well, this concerns all of us," my mother replied, waving her hand dismissively. "Family matters should be discussed as a family." Lily looked uncomfortable, her eyes not quite meeting mine. "I'm sorry, Michael. Mom insisted on coming." "It's fine," I said, though it actually wasn't. "So, you're pregnant?" Lily nodded, a small smile finally breaking through her discomfort. "Almost 3 months. It was not planned, but I'm excited." "The father?" I asked gently. "Not in the picture," my mother cut in before Lily could answer, "which is when we need to discuss practical matters." I raised an eyebrow. "What practical matters are you talking about?" "Support, Michael. Your sister needs support. She is carrying the next generation of our family after all." "I'm happy to support Lily however I can," I said, looking directly at my sister. "What do you need?" Before Lily could respond, my mother leaned forward, her eyes gleaming with a familiar predatory look. "The house for starters, and your father's savings." I blinked, sure I had misheard. "Excuse me?" "Your father's house," she repeated slowly, as if I were stupid. "It's too much big for one person, and Lily will need space for the baby. Plus the money would ensure they have everything they need." "Mom, we did not agree to ask for the whole house," Lily murmured, looking mortified. "Hush, Lily. Michael knows what's right." My mother reached across the table to pat my hand condescendingly. "Your father would have wanted to provide for his grandchild. You know that." I pulled my hand away, feeling a familiar anger rising in my chest. Dad provided for his family by leaving me his assets, which he worked hard for. I'm not giving you the house or his savings. My mom's face hardened. "Don't be selfish, Michael. What do you need a 3-bedroom house for? You're single and probably will be for a long time with your personality. Lily is starting a family. She deserves that security." "My personality?" I repeated incredulously. "You mean the personality you spent years trying to crush?" "Oh, stop being so dramatic," she snapped. "This is not about ancient history. This is about doing what's right for your sister and her baby." I looked at Lily, who was staring down at her tea, clearly uncomfortable. "Lily, is this what you want? For me to give up my home and inheritance?" She hesitated and then looked up with tears in her eyes. "I don't want your house, Michael. Mom said we were just gonna ask if I could stay with you for a while after the baby comes." My mother's eyes flashed dangerously. "Lily, we discussed this. You need your own place, not a room in your brother's house. And the money." "What exactly do you plan to do with the money, Mom?" I interrupted, my suspicions growing stronger by the minute. "Take care of Lily and the baby, of course," she said, but the way her eyes shifted told me everything I needed to know. "Really? Because Lily just said she only wanted to stay with me temporarily. That does not require my dad's entire savings." My mother's mask slipped for a moment, revealing the cold calculation beneath. "There are expenses you don't understand. Medical bills, baby supplies, proper childcare." "And the vacation to Bali you've been talking about?" Lily said quietly, surprising both of us. "And the new Mercedes you showed me in that brochure?" The look my mother gave Lily could have frozen hell itself. "Those are necessary stress relievers for a grandma who will be helping raising a child." I'd had enough. Standing up, I looked directly at my sister. "Lily, you're welcome to stay with me whenever you need to. We can convert the home office into a nursery if you like. But I'm not giving the house or Dad's money to anyone, and especially not to fund my mom's luxury lifestyle." "You ungrateful little…" my mother began, but I cut her off. "We are done here. Lily, call me when you want to talk without Mom present." I walked out, my heart pounding, but my resolve firm. My dad had trusted me with his legacy, and I was not about to betray that trust. The next few weeks were relatively quiet, though I received occasional texts from Lily apologizing for our mother's behavior. I assured her that she had nothing to apologize for and reiterated my offer to help with the baby. I thought perhaps naively that my mother had gotten the message and moved on. But I was wrong. It started with a Facebook post. A mutual friend sent me a screenshot, concerned about what they were seeing. My mother had written a lengthy, tear-jerking narrative about how her so-called troubled son had stolen what rightfully belonged to his pregnant sister, leaving them facing potential homelessness. She described how my father had been manipulated in his final days into supposedly changing his will, and how I was now flaunting my wealth while my sister prepared to bring a child into poverty. It was complete fiction, of course. My father's will had been updated years before his diagnosis, and the idea that Lily was facing poverty was laughable. My mother owned her condo, mortgage-free thanks to the divorce settlement, but people were eating it up. The comments were filled with outrage on their behalf, with many of my mother's friends offering words of support and condemnation of my so-called selfish behavior. A few even suggested legal action. I, of course, called Lily immediately and asked, "Have you seen Mom's Facebook post?" Her voice was tired when she answered, "Yes, I'm so sorry, Michael. I told her to take it down, but she refused. She says public pressure is the only way to make you do the right thing." Well, this is not about doing the right thing, I said, trying to keep my voice level. This is just about her wanting Dad's money for herself. You know that, right? There was a long pause before Lily sighed. I know. She has been talking about all these plans for after I get the house. Most of them involve me watching the baby while she travels or renovates. She even suggested that I could sell the house and then we could split the money. My blood was boiling. Lily, I need you to be honest with me. Are you really in financial trouble? Do you need help with medical bills or baby supplies? No, she admitted. I have good insurance through work and I've been saving. Mom she's convinced that I should have more, that the baby deserves more. The baby deserves a mother who is not being manipulated by her grandmother, I said firmly. Just stand your ground, Lily. I will handle Mom's social media smear campaign. I consulted with a lawyer the next day who advised me to send a formal cease and desist letter regarding the defamatory posts. I did, copying both my mother and Lily on the email. My mother responded with a mocking message about how lawyers cannot stop the truth. But the posts disappeared within hours. Peace lasted for approximately 3 days before the next phase of her campaign began. This time it was phone calls, not to me, but to my neighbors, my father's former colleagues, even a few of my college professors whose contacts she had somehow obtained. She told each of them a slightly different story of her fabricated version, always positioning herself and Lily as the victims of my cruelty and greed. One of my neighbors, Mrs. Peterson, an elderly woman who had been friends with my dad, called me in tears. "Michael, dear, is it true that you're keeping your pregnant sister out on the street?" she asked, her voice wavering. "Absolutely not, Mrs. Peterson," I assured her. "Lily has a place to live and I've offered her a room in the house whenever she needs it. My mother is, well, she's not being truthful." "I thought as much," she said, sounding relieved. "Your father was so proud of you. He would have never raised a son who would do such things." It was small comfort as the calls continued to come in. I changed my number, but that only seemed to escalate the situation. My mother began showing up at my workplace, causing scenes in the lobby until security escorted her out. She sent letters to my boss claiming I was embezzling company funds to support a gambling addiction, another complete fabrication that fortunately was not taken seriously. But things came to a head on a Saturday afternoon in May. I had spent the morning doing yard work, something that always helped clear my head. I was in the shower when I heard what sounded like breaking glass. Throwing on a rope, I cautiously made my way downstairs, grabbing a baseball bat from my closet as I went. When I reached the bottom of the stairs, I was confronted with a sight that momentarily stopped my heart. My mother and Lily standing in my living room amidst the shards of what had once been my back door's window. "What the hell are you doing?" I demanded, gripping the bat tightly. My mother, unfazed by my anger, was rifling through a drawer in my father's desk. "Looking for what is rightfully ours," she said without looking up. "The deed to the house, the banking information, just all of it." Lily stood nearby, looking pale and terrified. "Michael, I'm sorry. I tried to stop her, but she said if I didn't come with her, she would tell everyone I was complicit in stealing from her anyway, and I—" "Quiet, Lily," our mother snapped. Here we go." She triumphantly held up a folder labeled property. Something in me snapped. I'd been patient, I'd been reasonable, I tried to handle this like an adult, but breaking into my home, destroying property and stealing documents? That crossed a line. I went to the cabinet where my father had kept his gun safe, quickly entering the combination. I removed the handgun he had taught me to use for home protection, making sure it was loaded but keeping my finger off the trigger. "Put the folder down," I said, my voice deadly calm as I pointed the gun at the floor, not directly at them but close enough to make my point clear. "Both of you, step away from the desk." My mother's eyes widened, but her expression quickly morphed from surprise to sneering contempt. "You wouldn't dare to use that. You're too weak, just like your father." "Mom," Lily whispered urgently, already backing away. "He is serious. Put it down." "I'm not leaving without what we came for," my mother insisted, clutching the folder to her chest. "Yes, you are," I said, raising the gun slightly. "Drop the folder or I call the police and report an armed break-in. In this state, I have the right to defend my property. Do you really want to test how far I'm willing to go?" For a moment we were at an impasse, then slowly my mother placed the folder back on the desk. "This is not over," she hissed. "It is for today," I replied, using my free hand to take out my phone. "Now get out while I call the police." "You are calling the police?" Lily gasped, her hand moving protectively to her slightly rounded belly. "Michael, please." "Breaking and entering is a crime, Lily," I said, genuinely regretful that she had been dragged into this. "And so is attempted theft. You both made your choices." My mother grabbed Lily's arm. "Come on, we are leaving. Let him call the police. It will be his word against ours." I smiled grimly. "Well, actually, it will be your word against mine and the security cameras I installed after your first Facebook campaign. Everything from the moment you broke my window is recorded." The color drained from my mother's face. Without another word, she turned to leave, pulling Lily with her. "Lily, stay if you want," I called after her. "We can sort this out." She hesitated, looking back at me with tears in her eyes. "I can't," she whispered. "She is still my mom." I understood, even if it broke my heart to watch her leave with the woman who had caused both of us so much pain. The police arrived within minutes of my call. I showed them the security footage, filed a report, and provided statements about the ongoing harassment. They were sympathetic and assured me they would follow up. 2 days later, both my mother and Lily were arrested. The charges against Lily were less severe, given her cooperation with the investigation and her admission that she had been coerced into participating. My mother, on the other hand, faced multiple charges, including breaking and entering, attempted theft, and criminal harassment. I attended their arraignment, watching silently as my mother pleaded not guilty despite the overwhelming evidence against her. Lily, advised by her court-appointed attorney, pleaded guilty to a lesser charge in exchange for probation. After the hearing, Lily approached me in the corridor, her eyes red from crying. "I'm so sorry, Michael," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I should have never let her talk me into this." "Why did you, though?" I asked, genuinely curious. "You know what she is like. You know that Dad left the house to me for a reason." Lily sighed heavily. "She's been different since Dad died. More controlling, more desperate. She keeps talking about how this is her last chance to get what she deserves. And with the baby coming," she placed a hand on her stomach, "I was scared, Michael. Scared of doing this alone, scared of disappointing her again. It was easier to go along with her plans than to stand up to her." I understood better than anyone the power our mother had to manipulate and control. "What will you do now?" "Get help," she said firmly. "My lawyer recommended a counselor who specializes in toxic family dynamics and," she hesitated, "I was hoping maybe your offer to stay with you was still open, just until I can find my own place." Despite everything, she was still my sister, so I said, "The offer stands, but there needs to be boundaries. No contact with Mom while you are living with me, and you contribute to the household expenses when you can." Relief washed over her face. "Thank you, I promise. Things will be different this time." And well, my mother was eventually convicted and sentenced to 18 months in prison for her crimes, with an additional 3 years of probation after release. One of the conditions of her probation was no contact with me or my property. It was more than I had expected and less than she deserved, but it provided a measure of peace knowing that she could not continue her campaign of harassment against me. Lily moved into my house the week after her sentencing hearing. True to her word, she attended therapy regularly and cut off contact with our mother. We converted the home office into a nursery, painting the walls a soft green at Lily's request. "I don't want to know if it's a boy or a girl until they are born," she explained as we assembled a crib. "I want at least one surprise in my life to be a good one." And well, she gave birth to a healthy baby girl 4 months later. They named her Jamie, after our father, and watching Lily hold her daughter for the first time, I felt a sense of peace I had not experienced since before my dad got sick. "She has his eyes," Lily whispered, stroking the baby's cheek with one finger. "Don't you think?" "Yeah, definitely," I agreed, though all I could really see was a tiny red-faced bundle with a tuft of dark hair. Dad would have adored her. I'm going to make sure that she knows about him, Lily promised. The real him, not Mom's version. In the months that followed, we settled into a comfortable routine. Lily found a job that she could do primarily from home, contributing to the household expenses just as agreed. I continued working in software development, adjusting my schedule to help with Jamie when needed. My mother sent letters occasionally, always addressed to Lily, always filled with manipulative pleas for forgiveness and thinly veiled demands for money or support. Lily would read them, sigh, and file them away without responding. She has not changed, she told me after receiving a particularly nasty letter blaming her for supposedly abandoning her mother in her time of need. Well, she never will. No, I agreed, but we have, and we had. The house that my father had left me became something even more valuable than property. It became a true home filled with the laughter of a child who would never know the pain of conditional love or emotional manipulation. Lily and I had truly broken the cycle that our mother had tried so hard to perpetuate, and in doing so, we had honored our father's memory far more than any inheritance ever could. So Reddit, am I the a-hole for refusing to give my house and inheritance to my entitled mother even though my sister was pregnant? And yeah guys, let me know in the comments what you think about this story. Do you think OP was the a-hole here or not? Also, if you would have been in this situation, would you have also helped out your sister? Let me know in the comments. Comment number 1 on Reddit said, "Not the a-hole, your mother literally committed multiple crimes against you. Breaking and entering, attempted theft, harassment, and she tried to drag your pregnant sister into her schemes. You had every right to protect your property with whatever means necessary. The fact that you still offered your sister a place to stay after all of this shows that you're actually a decent person. Your dad left you that house for a reason, and I'm glad the courts saw through your mother's BS. Comment number 2, NTA all day long. You escaped an abusive parent, lost your supportive dad, and then had to deal with your toxic mom trying to steal what is rightfully yours. The security cameras were a genius move. Anyone saying you're the a-hole clearly has not dealt with narcissistic parents. And you're even letting your sister stay with you after she participated in a crime against you. That's more generous than most people would be." And the third comment said, "You're the a-hole, and a massive one, who threatens their pregnant sister with a gun. I don't care what your mommy issues are, that baby is innocent and you put it at risk. Your sister is growing a human being and needs stability, not some power-tripping brother waving firearms around. Your dad would be ashamed of how you're treating his grandchild. A real man would have given up that house in a heartbeat to support family. I hope you enjoy your empty house and your principles while your sister struggles. Disgusting behavior." And by the way guys, I must say that this comment was written before the update in the story, and the update was where OP basically took care of his sister. Hence why the comment does not really make sense anymore, but I did want to share it because just to see that some comments on Reddit are really absolutely outrageous and unhinged. But yeah, let me know in the comments what you think about this story. And before we end the video, we will read one last interesting story from r/PettyRevenge. It is titled "Taking the High Road and Letting Toxic Parents Orchestrate Their Own Downfall." Okay, so a group of 4 to 5 mothers have actively tried to exclude my 8-year-old daughter. Their children are her best friends, the children love my daughter, and when she comes to school, they all run towards her to hug her and say hello. Basically, she's the popular girl in class and she dislikes all the attention, but it actually gives her the power to stop bullying. And she does. She has refused to play with anyone who bullies and made an effort to play with the kids being bullied. So the bullying in her class has more or less stopped amongst the girls. However, some of the mothers have taken a dislike to her, or perhaps me, so they have refused to invite her and one other girl from their group, whose mother I'm friends with, to events like birthdays, despite their own kids literally begging for them to invite my daughter. She has also been invited once, and the child's mom told the kid to disinvite her. There's always an excuse for them to say no to playdates, so despite this, the kids are still friends. And so far, I've chosen to take the high road, so I always tell the girls when they ask that they are always welcome at my place, and sometimes they have asked me to call their parents as they know that they don't have plans, and I've done so and told them that unfortunately their parents said no. When they have asked why, I tell them to ask their own parents. A couple times these parents have actively chosen for their kid to be the only one left at after-school care rather than coming home with us. My daughter's birthday is coming up and I asked her how she wanted to celebrate and with whom. She of course chose her friends. I texted and asked for a playdate, not mentioning that it was her birthday or that I was taking them to the most popular indoor playground that is quite expensive. All of them had excuses apart from my friend's daughter. After they declined, I answered, "Oh, what a shame, we were going to go to this playground." Your daughter really seemed to want to go and couldn't remember any plans. She must have forgotten. One backtracked, and I know for a fact that the others have had huge tantrums at home. I'm guessing this, along with everything else, is making their kids lose all respect for their parents. I hear from my daughter that her friends are growing more and more resentful of their mothers. I mean, that's the sort of thing they will never forget or forgive, and I have of course told the kids what a shame it is and when I would have loved for them to come. I suppose in 2 to 3 years their moms will no longer hold any power over who they play with or where, and I'm guessing I'm gonna be seeing their kids a lot more than they will, and I will go out of my way to display good behavior, like I continue to encourage in my daughter. And yeah guys, if you enjoyed the XXL story today, I would really appreciate a like, and I will see you again tomorrow.